Seth Rollins has been summoned to Vince McMahon's office on Monday as his WrestleMania 38 storyline continues as a possible spoiler on a return set for the go-home edition of Monday Night Raw as we go to WrestleMania. Plus new updates when it comes to AJ Styles versus Edge. What night of WrestleMania is that going to be happening on? Also, have we been told what the WWE and Universal Unified Championship is going to be called coming out of WrestleMania? All this and more in today's WWE news. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestle News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well, having a good Sunday as always. There are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of WWE, so let's start off talking about this Seth Rollins storyline. And for a storyline that, as I've spoken about before, I wasn't massively on board with in the sense of, in terms of logic. You know, I'm obviously very excited to see Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania because it's just going to be such a wild moment and such a massive deal. An AEW EVP being the first to step over the line and go from AEW to WWE being such a significant, high-profile name. It's a massive deal. It's a massive deal, and it's got a lot of people talking. It's got a lot of buzz, so I am excited for it, and I'm curious to see how they do it, even though, as I mentioned, the logic of the storyline is quite stupid. I'm interested where they're going, and I'll give WWE credit for piquing my interest, certainly. And we have the next development when it comes to Seth Rollins, as WrestleMania 38 rapidly approaches. Of course, a week today, it's WrestleMania Night 2. A week today, would have already had Night 1. And I don't think Cody Rhodes is going to appear on Night 1, but we'll know more, certainly, about this. So the next development in Seth Rollins' path to WrestleMania has emerged, and it's in the form of a text message from Vince McMahon. Quote, "Someone from my office is going to be reaching out to you to set up a meeting at corporate headquarters," the text read. "I want you in my office at 9 a.m. on Monday." Now, following his loss to AJ Styles via disqualification on last Monday's Raw, Rollins grabbed the microphone and stated, "This is BS." He then claimed that next week's Raw won't happen unless he gets what he deserves, a WrestleMania moment. Now, the fans in attendance at the Allstate Arena chanted Cody in response as Rollins continued to kick over the barrier, tear up the apron, flip over the announcer's table, and rip off the ring post covers. With this Monday's Raw being the go-home edition to WrestleMania 38, it is believed that another piece of the puzzle will be put in place, leading to Seth Rollins versus a returning Cody Rhodes. It's been rumored for months now that the American Nightmare was returning to WWE, and the news was essentially confirmed, of course, from reports by PW Insider and AEW's own Chris Jericho. Adam Pearce would chime in the post of the text message as well, encouraging Rollins to talk about the meeting when they're at the WWE live event yesterday evening. He said, quote, "Let's chat about this tonight in Kitchener," Pearce wrote in response. So, where are they going with this? I don't know. And again, that's not a bad thing. That is not a bad thing at all. Certainly I do, and maybe this is just someone that's watched pro wrestling for such a long period of time now, especially WWE. You tend to know where WWE's going with things, and you tend to know what they're going to do. And sometimes when you don't know what they're going to do, it's because they don't know. But I don't think that's the situation here. I think WWE have got a plan. And that's encouraging, and this is exciting, and that's why people are curious, because we all know the outcome is Cody Rhodes' return, but we don't really know how they're going to get there. And that's the beauty of storytelling, not just pro wrestling. That's the beauty of storytelling in general. So I'm interested. I've seen some people say what's going to happen in this meeting, and you know what the answer is? I don't know. I don't know if we're going to have a situation whereby the meeting's at 9 a.m. Eastern time, one would assume. It's in Connecticut. 9 a.m. and then whatever happens in that meeting is going to be played out on Raw, whether that meeting is shown on social media before Raw, whether some things announced coming out of that meeting. I don't know what they're going to do. And again, that's not a bad thing at all. Now, we could see lots of different directions here. It could just be a simple case of in the meeting, and they show it on the opening of Raw, Vince McMahon says to Seth Rollins, "Look, if you disrupt Monday Night Raw tonight, then you're going to be fired, or you're going to be suspended, or something like that. Or, okay, Seth, you've backed me into a corner here, but I've done it. What's going to happen? You are going to get a WrestleMania match." And Rollins is super happy about this. He's like, great. And he goes, "Your opponent will be revealed at the end of Monday Night Raw tonight." And maybe that's what's going to happen. Or perhaps this is a situation where Rollins' meeting with Vince McMahon is played out throughout the evening during the Raw broadcast, throughout several segments during the Raw broadcast, negotiations, all that kind of stuff. And then the very closing segment of Monday Night Raw is when it's revealed that Cody Rhodes is, the way I would shoot it is this. Look, I think it's two different schools of thought. One, you don't have Cody Rhodes appear. He appears at WrestleMania. And that's when he makes his return. And realistically, I think that's the direction that they are going to go, that he'll return officially at WrestleMania. That'll be the first time we see him. But I wouldn't rule out that Raw ends this week with that segment that I'm talking about, where Seth Rollins, maybe the entire show, he's being put off and he's waiting outside the office and he's been waiting outside all day. Vince McMahon's going to arrive later on, or they keep cutting back to, maybe that's how the show opens, right? Seth Rollins arriving at WWE HQ saying, I'm here for a meeting with Vince McMahon. Okay, Mr. McMahon. And they go, okay. And then throughout the show, they keep cutting to him and he's sitting outside the office. He's waiting there, all that kind of stuff. And next time he's checking his watch and they go back to him again and he's knocking on the door and all that kind of stuff. And he's getting more and more frustrated. It gets to the end of the show and he's like, okay, enough's enough. You told me 9 a.m. I've been waiting out here all day. You told me 9 a.m. It's already, nearly 11 p.m. I've been stuck out this office all day. Why are you making me wait all day for this? Barges through, and then you just see Rollins' reaction, and he looks like perplexed, confused, shocked, like that. You hear Vince McMahon say, sorry, Seth, for keeping you so long, but I've been negotiating your WrestleMania opponent. And then the camera pans, and Cody Rhodes is sitting in Vince McMahon's office signing a contract in front of Vince McMahon, and that's how Raw goes off the air. Now, do I think they'll do that? It would create buzz, and you would get the pop still at WrestleMania. I don't know if you would get as big of the shock pop, even though they know it's going to happen. Maybe it's just a case of they close Raw with the cliffhanger instead. Instead of revealing Cody, eventually Vince McMahon says, look, you're one of the biggest stars in the company, and given everything you've done and all of the challenges you've had to overcome, I like your grit. And as I say to Austin Theory, expect the unexpected. And I can confirm you will get a WrestleMania match against an opponent that will be revealed at WrestleMania. Maybe they just leave it at that. Maybe that's how they leave it. I don't know. I don't know which one I would prefer. You can let me know what you would prefer in the comment section below. I do like the idea, it must be said, of going off the air on Raw with that just image of Cody Rhodes in Vince McMahon's office. You know, that would be shocking. Does WrestleMania need it? Depends how many tickets have been sold. Realistically, you can let me know. I don't know where I kind of sit on where they should go with that one, but I think it's good storytelling. I really do. Bobby Lashley is set to return on Raw on Monday, according to several reports. Now, Fightful Select, Sean Ross Sapp posted a story yesterday saying that it was earlier reported by Fightful Select that Omos's WrestleMania opponent was scheduled to be Bobby Lashley, the former WWE champion returning from injury. Fightful are now reporting that as of yesterday, that is still the plan, and Lashley is stated to be in town for Raw on Monday from Pittsburgh, though they haven't confirmed that he's set to appear on the show. Of course, Lashley hasn't competed since his match at the Royal Rumble, where he sustained an injury and had to be written out early in the Elimination Chamber match the following month. It was later reported that Lashley would be sidelined for several months with a shoulder injury. Sources are reporting to Fightful that as of this weekend, the Omos push was scheduled to continue through WrestleMania, though, of course, anything can change all the way up to the show. So that's what Fightful Select are reporting when it comes to Lashley's status. But PW Insider is actually confirming that Lashley is going to be returning on the episode. It's not just a case of him being in Pittsburgh. He's going to be on the show. And it would appear that he's going to face Omos. The curious thing is, like I said, now that's a big match, and they have faced off in a tag team match before, and it was when Lashley was teaming with MVP against AJ Styles and Omos, and when they faced off, the crowd, they did the rumble. They did the rumble of, oh, wow, this is exciting, and what's going to happen here? Two giant men going up against each other, and I think WWE heard that, and I think they said, okay, that's money. There's money to be made there. Is there money to be made there after 6 days of build is realistically what it would be. I don't know. They kind of book themselves into a corner, I would say as well, because they've been building up Omos, and whenever you have a big giant like that, you build him up for him to be eventually defeated by a babyface, but I don't see a good reason why Omos should lose, to be honest, at WrestleMania. I think there's way more money to be made in keeping him undefeated, not having him lose or anything like that. But also, you've got a returning Bobby Lashley who doesn't get squashed by anyone. Lashley got so over the course of the last sort of 2 years because he was dominating people. And again, whilst it's a great match on paper, in my opinion, you spend more time building it. I know Lashley wants to be on WrestleMania, and they want Lashley on WrestleMania, and I want him to get that WrestleMania payday, I do. But I look at the long term for Omos, and I said the long term right decision is for Omos to win. But I don't know if that's the right move to have Lashley return just to be squashed by Omos. Unless that's going to be Lashley's role. I don't know. That's the only thing that I question with that, because I know some people will say, well, Lashley returning, he has to win. But what does that do for Omos? Omos is going to be around for a while. Whether he's green, and he is, and whether he sometimes looks a bit silly, he's an attraction. He will draw money. He had a match against Commander Aziz, and it was the most viewed thing on WWE's YouTube channel that week. It was like 2-3 million views. Because more seasoned pro wrestling fans or people more hardcore pro wrestling fans might not like it, but that draws. It still does draw. And to a predominantly, kid-orientated audience, I remember when I was a kid, you're fascinated to see the two giant people go up against each other, because in your head, wrestling's still real at that point. So I'm really curious as to what the outcome is of that match, but we'll see. And Lashley's going to be back on Raw tomorrow, by all accounts. AJ Styles versus Edge is one of the most anticipated matches for WrestleMania 38 weekend. Now, it was originally announced for WrestleMania Sunday, the match between the two, but then it was pulled from that listing and was temporarily not assigned to any night. WWE then added the match back to WrestleMania Sunday, but for unexplained reasons, the booking was once again changed and added to the Saturday lineup. It seems another change was made to the matchup, and AJ Styles and Edge moved back yet again to their original date, WrestleMania Sunday. So that it is kind of curious, and I would assume that this is going to continue. Realistically, does it actually matter? Not really. As long as we get the match, I don't really care. And everyone's going to see the match anyway. I don't know why. I mean, I guess looking at what is scheduled for night one and what is scheduled for night two, it's probably a case of we need to balance that. It would appear that certainly night two's the bigger night, I guess, so far. I mean, you've got obviously the biggest match of the weekend, which is the unification match. That's the main event for WrestleMania Sunday. But apart from that, Raw Tag Team Championships, Women's Tag Team titles, Zayn versus Knoxville, Pat McAfee versus Austin Theory, Edge versus AJ Styles needs to be on Sunday, because without that, it's a one-match card on Sunday. Saturday, you've got, the both Women's Championship matches. You've got the KO show. That certainly would be the stronger lineup. So I guess, to be honest, looking at it, it needs to be on Sunday, because if it was on Saturday, that's a lopsided couple of days. And we saw that last year, to be honest, with WrestleMania last year, right? WrestleMania Saturday was far superior to WrestleMania Sunday. WrestleMania Sunday had a good main event. That was it. That was really it. So I think Sunday's the right spot for AJ versus Edge. Speaking of WrestleMania, as I mentioned, WrestleMania Sunday, we'll see that winner take all title versus title match. Now, what was quite curious is that Roman Reigns may have spoiled, shall we say, what is going to be the name of the unified WWE Championship and Universal Championship. On SmackDown this Friday, Roman Reigns looked into the camera and said that he would be crowned the undisputed WWE Universal Champion, which is quite curious. It's curious because anything in WWE, when it's scripted for a promo, tends to be scripted on purpose. So I would assume that at the end of the match, when Roman Reigns wins that match, because he will, when he wins that match, he'll be crowned the undisputed WWE Universal Champion. And I don't know how they go from A to B in terms of splitting the belts back up coming out of WrestleMania, because if they're unified, how do you split them again? That seems a bit odd, but we'll wait and see. That seems to be the name. I don't know how I feel. It looks like just the Universal Championship is just here to stay, realistically. Speaking of WrestleMania weekend as well, there's quite a few media appearances for WrestleMania weekend. The likes of Ronda Rousey and Roman Reigns will be making appearances on the show. Roman Reigns is going to be appearing on Wednesday's episode of The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. Ronda Rousey reportedly is going to be a guest on The Ellen Show on Tuesday. So that's when you know it's WrestleMania week, is when they're appearing on all of these different shows. Speaking of WrestleMania as well, WrestleMania Sunday, we're getting Johnny Knoxville versus Sami Zayn. And Johnny Knoxville has teased, quote, special things planned for the WrestleMania match against Zayn. He said, quote, if you need him to clean your house or maybe give you a pedicure, he's going to need a lot of odd jobs after WrestleMania because I'm going to retire him. I'm training a bunch and can't wait to punch Sami Zayn in that stupid face. I go to sleep thinking about it. I dream about it. I wake up in the morning and the first thing I think about, he's going to pay at WrestleMania. I have a personal wrestling coach and he's teaching me all the right moves. The warp your head off hold, the step over toe hold, all these things I'm going to bring back. He said, quote, I would love to come back and do something more in the future. It's been a dream come true working with the WWE. It's been so much fun. I didn't realize I would become so completely obsessed with it like I have. It's so fun. So as to what he's got planned, he said, quote, I've got a few special things planned. I don't want to give it away. But they said anything goes. That's my speciality. Now, this is not going to be like the Bad Bunny match last year or the Logan Paul match the night prior, where Logan Paul and Bad Bunny actually wrestle somewhat. You know, Bad Bunny wrestled and Logan Paul is going to do moves and all that kind of stuff, take bumps. This is going to be your proper celebrity gaga when they don't really do much training and they just throw a load of stuff out there. I would assume we're basically going to get a multi-man handicap match where it's the cast of Jackass versus Sami Zayn. And I would assume that pretty much every cast member will do a stunt, essentially, and then eventually he gets to Johnny Knoxville and he wins. That's got to be the outcome, I think, right? That has to be the outcome. I know usually the celebrity always wins in pro wrestling, and it's so stupid because someone who's only been training for months suddenly beats someone that's been doing it their entire life. It's just such a dumb pro wrestling logic, but that's pro wrestling, unfortunately. I think that we see the Mysterio... maybe we could see the celebrities win against the Mysterios. That's a possibility because Logan Paul said he's open to doing more in the future. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe The Miz and Logan Paul win. I just don't think Johnny Knoxville should win. And again, I know the celebrities always win and they're looking for the feel-good moment, but the beauty, as a fan of Jackass as well for years, the beauty of Jackass is seeing these guys get the hell beaten out of each other, with the stunts they do. So that segment should be all about all of the Jackass guys just being absolutely destroyed. And what does Sami Zayn do? How does he come back from losing to Johnny Knoxville? He can't. So I can't. I'd be shocked. But I wouldn't. This is WWE we're talking about, I suppose. Finally, several SmackDown stars are reportedly scheduled for Raw on Monday. It was noted previously that the dark match after SmackDown on Friday went off the air saw Raw Tag Team Champions RK Bro pick up the victory over Alpha Academy. It looks as though the crossovers between Raw and SmackDown going into WrestleMania weekend are set to continue. Though it's not guaranteed they'll be used on the show, PW Insider is reporting that some additional SmackDown stars are going to be present for Raw this week, including Intercontinental Champion Ricochet and Shinsuke Nakamura. Of course, we do know that the Usos are going to be appearing on Raw on Monday, as they're going to be facing off against RK Bro in a Champions versus Champion match. As I mentioned before, the brand split just means nothing, especially around WrestleMania time, because they just, not that it means much anyway, but definitely around WrestleMania time because they've got all of their different feuds going on. I used to like it, how they presented it with logic. Back when the brand split first started, they said, it can happen because this is the time of year that interpromotional matches can happen. You go, okay, that's logical. That's why they can appear on the show. That's why you could have, Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 21 or Randy Orton versus The Undertaker because that's the time of year that it can happen. And it didn't happen any other time of the year. The problem is now it happens all year. And they don't even give a reason. It's just a case of Austin Theory's going to face Pat McAfee. Well, isn't Austin Theory on Raw? Yeah, but, he's Vince McMahon's protege, can do what he wants. And I suppose maybe that's the real point of it. It's just like, who cares? Who cares? Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts on today's WWE news stories in the comments section below. Be sure to like and subscribe to Wrestle News 365, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.